Well, more horror stories from the state of Florida with regards to voting rights as Republicans, who currently control our state, are trying to disenfranchise roughly 1.4 million voters before the 2020 presidential election. Here's the backstory. In November, during the midterm election, 65% of people in this state went to the polls and checked yes on Amendment 4, which allowed former felons to have their voting rights restored, with the exception, of course, of murderers and people who committed sexual crimes. Everybody else, which was 1.4 million citizens in this state, immediately had their voting rights restored. Until, of course, Republicans stepped in. And again, our governorship, our state house, and our state senate are controlled completely by Republicans. And they don't want these former felons to vote. So immediately our new governor, Ron DeSantis, tried to put the brakes on this thing and slow it down and say, we got to figure out implementation here. We don't know how to do this. It's not going to happen yet. Well, then it turns out he had to do it. So now Republicans in the state are working on legislation that would basically make it impossible for these former convicts to get their voting rights back, unless, of course, they have tens of thousands and in some case hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for all of the fees that the state incurred while prosecuting and imprisoning them. They essentially want these former convicts, people who served their time, to pay back the state for everything. Their time in prison, their medical care in prison. This is nuts. My state down here is absolutely implementing a modern day poll tax. That is what this is. And you know why they're doing it? I think that's pretty obvious. As I've said many times, and I will continue to say this, the elections in 2018 in this state were decided, the biggest ones, Senate, governorship, decided by only a few thousand votes. We're talking about adding 1.4 million new voters. New voters who, by the way, understand that the Republican Party does not like them. So I'm not saying all of them are going to become Democrats, but I'm going to say most of them aren't going to become Republicans because they know what these Republicans are doing to them. They know the Democrats are fighting to get them their voting rights back. Simple logic, right? But with 1.4 million new voters, that completely reshapes the entire Florida electorate, because there has not been any election in this state since the year 2000, probably before that. I didn't look before that, but at least since the year 2000 with Bush v. Gore, there haven't been any elections in this state decided by fewer than a few thousand votes, in some cases a few hundred. So even if we took 1% of those 1.4 million new voters, even if just 1% of them voted in 2020, that would be enough to sway the election. 2%, sway it even more. 10%, you are talking about a different electorate, a different makeup in this state. And that is exactly what we need. But we need more than 1% or 2% or 10%. We need 100%. The voters in this state demanded that these people get their voting rights back. Yet the Republicans, sitting down here in Tallahassee, making big bucks, deciding what's best for everyone, they're telling us nope. Even though voters said we're going to change the Constitution, we, the Republicans, are going to screw it up, because once these 1.4 million people get their voting rights back, our careers are over. And I think that's what a lot of us in this state have been waiting for a very long time. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, if you like what you see here, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And now you can also become a member of Ring of Fire and get exclusive early access to certain Ring of Fire videos all throughout the week. Just click on the little join button right below the video.